JoNel, and that's Melissa. We're going to be talking a little bit about how we are using some qualitative assessment tools, mostly student narrative, to assess professional growth. And our assessment has focused on the sort of ethical and professional character development questions and view of professional role. Am I okay?
I think they want the microphone on you in case perhaps they're recording or whatever.
Our tools, the tools that we will be talking about are in the materials that I guess should be on the website because we sent them in. And so hopefully. I want to give a shout out, even though he's not here this morning, to my friend Clark Cunningham, who really put me in touch with someone. Is this not working? Is it?
It's for the video, so you got to use it.
Okay.
Follow the rules.
Who put me in touch with? Is this better? Okay, sorry. With Donald Nicholson at the University of Strathclyde in Glasgow, and the two of us realized that we have very similar clinical experiences, and we both were collecting narrative student data, and so we decided to do a sort of cross-continent assessment of what the students were learning and how their clinical experiences were informing that. And so the study that we did was really based on, again, ethical components of professional development. That was our focus. Professional identity, and we found, and will be publishing, I hope soon, some of this evidence, and are going to, Melissa and I are going to talk about it now. And so in order to understand it, she's going to tell you a little bit about art pedagogy and what we collected.
So for those of you who don't know, we teach the Health Rights Clinic at the University of Miami, and it is a community population-based clinic. We sort of respond to whatever is, we have our base caseload of, 150 cases, and then whatever is going on in the community. For example, right now, unaccompanied minors is a big hit in Miami. So, we push our caseload up to 200 to deal at least with some of that. So we're the high volume, high stress clinic. Forever people are telling us that we're not allowed to do that, and we just keep making it bigger and bigger. So high volume, high stress, the students literally walk in on the first day and they are assigned 6 to 8 cases. They're the primary case holders. We don't ask them to fax and copy and do stuff. They're the ones who are really doing the lawyer work on these. Cross-disciplinary, so it's a medical legal partnership. We've got 4 medical sites at this point. We work with Pediatric Mobile Clinic, the Veterans, South Florida AIDS Network, and Jefferson Reeves Clinic, Senior Clinic, which is a smaller neighborhood-based under a highway in one of the poorest, most underserved sections of Miami. And so we think, the theory, the hypothesis is that this clinic and the way that we're doing the pedagogy is inculcating ethical professional identity in the students. And so that's part of what we are testing with these qualitative diaries, if you will. And so we've got 16 learning goals. I think now we made 17, and those are up on the website, and if they're not, we can reshare them. For the purposes of this study, we use 12 2Ls and 3Ls, but we usually have 18 to 20 students. But for the purposes of this, there were just 12 that we used. In order to keep everything under control, we have weekly supervision meetings where we literally go through every single case with the students, even if they just say the hearing date is pending. I don't care. You've got to tell me what the status, what the procedural posture is of your case. And then, of course, we have a weekly seminar where we try to do as much guided self-reflection as we can. We are thinking, we do ethics instruction. We're thinking of expanding and adding 2 credits to our course to do more of an ethical piece. We do some substantive law, although we're pulling back from that. And of course, skills training is all the time, all day long, every day. And so the self-reflection narratives is what JoNel was talking about in terms of the comparison with Strathclyde and UM.
Okay, and so in terms of the way we approached the analysis of the student reflection pieces, we used grounded theory and narrative inquiry, both of which are sort of thematic analyses of personal accounts of experiences. We extracted themes from those individual narratives and went through that. Went through them very carefully. We did some control for there are always weaknesses inherent in a sort of narrative or grounded theory-based survey instrument, and so we tried to control for that in 2 ways that we think are fairly all right. I mean, first of all, we swapped each other's narrative material, and therefore we're looking at it without coming to, I mean, when I reviewed the Strathclyde students' narratives, for example, I didn't know anything about them or their individual casework. Same on Donald's end for us. But then we also had a further check, which was our own individual observations and experiences with the students in their clinical work, and so we could test to some degree the validity of what they were telling us against what we knew they had done or not done. And I think I covered most of this before, that the sort of evidence that we extracted did, we thought, show evidence of the development, the sort of 4 stages of moral development that Navarez and Rest identify, and we believe very strongly that all of that is best grounded and learned from lived experiences in role, what the students were doing. There's been a lot of talk about simulation, and at this conference, I think simulation is wonderful. We have a complete abhorrence for using simulation because we have such rich real life experiences. But I think simulation is the next best thing, which is certainly what Babot talks about when she discusses the moral and ethical dilemmas that ground some professional development. So we just real quickly, we're going to run through just a few of the examples so that people can see. And so on each side is one is a student from Strathclyde and a student from Miami, and you really can't tell the difference most of the time, which we thought was fairly interesting. So in terms of the kind of development of ethical sensitivity and empathy, you see both sides of the Atlantic, both crediting their in-case work, the work they did with individual clients, as helping them understand how to develop rapport, how to act with empathy, how to consider the other person, and so that's one area where there were just very rich examples. I've pulled 2 from the 2 different clinics.
And so for this example, I really liked how it shows that the students are pushing back on their initial judgment and their initial reactions working with clients. And so you'll see that now they're sort of starting to think about, okay, well, what's the alternate narrative with this client? Why is the client late? Why is the client perhaps being rude? What is going on? And because I've had 6 to 8 clients, or however many, I'm starting to see a pattern. So it can't just be that this person's just being a jerk. There's something going on where this is part of the embedded legal system that these reactions are happening. And so I was really glad to see that they're starting to think about what else could be going on here.
And for the same reason, I like this example because while the students all identified, the sort of ethical grounding and empathy or sympathy for individual client situations, they also developed a very healthy understanding that the facts may not always be exactly what you are given. When your client first presents, and a sort of trust but verify attitude, which was something that you learn only after you've experienced this this kind of cognitive dissonance that exists for clients.
And so this slide, I think about this one as the students are really trying to figure out their role, and they're starting to understand their role as part of a legal system that's stacked against people. And so this is where we get excited because they're starting to see that, wait a minute, I do have a role because now I've tried to get through the system and it was hard as hell for me. So how would my clients who don't have the educational training, who don't have the background, who aren't supposed to be doing this as a profession, be able to get through the system? So it's my job to navigate and figure out as an advocate in role to get through that legal system.
And then with respect to sort of a moral commitment to ensuring that everyone is served and to understand the unique role of the lawyer in making sure that happens, a kind of moral commitment to work with the client communities that we encounter was something that both sets of students identified coming out of their clinical experiences. And for us in particular, that was quite profound because the University of Miami is not necessarily a social justice recruiting public interest, well-known public interest school. And there are many that are fantastic. Most of our students come to the University of Miami without that kind of social justice orientation, and as a career, and we don't screen in our clinic for that. In fact, we actually like to get the students who want to go to the big law firms. We have no aversion to having those people working in our clinic, and so to see this kind of stuff coming out of our students is very interesting to us. I wanted to just briefly also go through, although it's not necessarily the ethical underpinnings of being a lawyer, there were also professional identity issues that we saw in the diaries, in the narratives, that helped, that we thought moved our students further along the continuum to become real professional lawyers. And so we talked about appreciation of the lawyer's role in securing access to justice, importance of working as part of a team, and development of competence and confidence in their role as lawyers. And that was something that we did not prompt, we didn't ask our students about, and 100% of our students at the end of their experience said, I'm now confident about doing X, Y, and Z, and our view is when they develop that kind of confidence, they're less likely to be shaky later, that they will have, that is something that will carry them through in their behavior as moral, ethical, and professional actors in the world. And so those were things that we also extracted and thought were very important.
So this one's probably our favorite slide because it says Last Chance Saloon. This slide is never going away. It will be with us forever. But it's nice that the students have been able to figure out that that's actually the case, right? They'll say, well, Melissa, we don't really do this kind of law. Can't we refer it? And I'm like, refer to who? If you can place the case somewhere, great, good luck to you. And then they come back and say, okay, fine, we have to do it. There's no one else. I've talked to people, no one else will do this. And we say, right. And so, in the first couple weeks of the clinic this year, they're saying, wait, why is everyone saying that there's no jobs for lawyers? Look at all these people that we have. Look at all these clients. And so they're really starting to understand that, there are a lot of people who don't have services, and we're providing some of that. And is that something that they're interested in trying to figure out? Is there a role for the low bono? Is there a role for lawyers who might not want to go to those big firms? And can they sort of team together? We've had our clinic for long enough now where people are starting to open up a shingle together, doing the same exact type of law that they did in our clinic. We have a Haitian student and a Cuban student who have opened a powerhouse immigration, family law, social security, bilingual, trilingual law firm because of what they were able to figure out. There's clients out there, right? How do we figure it out as a business model? And then this is another one of our favorite things, and we don't know exactly how we do this, but there's really a shift in our clinic from their experience as 1Ls, where everyone's, out to get each other, to a really team-centered clinic approach where everyone understands we're in this together. Like, we've got to do this all together, or it's not gonna happen. While they have their individual clients, they really are starting to say, hey, don't you have a Social Security case that's gonna win at step 3? Because I think I do too. Can we talk about that? Can we brainstorm together? Can we use each other as sounding boards? They're learning how to be colleagues, right? They're forgetting about the backstabbing and the switching around. They're learning how to be colleagues in our clinic. And we really, really think that that's an important piece of what we're teaching.
And so just going through quickly on some of the confidence issues, these are all made-up names. The names are made up in the piece, obviously for lots of good reasons. But the confidence in role as an attorney, again, as I said, I really think confidence is key to keeping the values that get inculcated, if they are inculcated properly, in the law school experience, and helping someone understand and feel confident in role as a lawyer.
And the same is true for solving problems, right? They come to us in our case reviews and say, and we're like, right, we've got to figure out, you've got to figure out, I don't know how to do this problem either. This is a new thing. We've got to figure it out together, your role as the problem solver, and you've got to start to develop confidence in your judgment and your decisions that you're going to make at the end of the day.
And similarly with legal knowledge, I particularly loved this quote, and no longer as a student who doesn't know anything. I now feel confident that I know what I'm doing on substantive legal knowledge and how to work in a particular setting.
And I've reflected on this one a bit because, confidence is, one thing, but they're figuring out that, confidence goes towards being the advocate, being the representative, but also being a colleague, right? You've got to have some confidence to say, hey, can I talk to you about this case, and feel like you can explain it to someone who doesn't have that case. And so they're really starting to respect each other as new lawyers, and when they come up with new ideas, that's starting to feed their confidence that, wait a minute, I can do this too, right? Not just
Right.
the kid with the 4.0 who's going to the big firm.
And this is not a confidence slide, but this is one more thing that I think is absolutely crucial to our profession, which is understanding the importance of diligence and follow through, and when you learn it through experience, it really sticks. Lastly,
Last slide.
We're getting the hook. These were questions. Sorry, these were questions we have generally and would be really interested in discussing at the table. How can we use these tools to better assess? And if you come to our table, Melissa will go on and on about the qualitative data that she's also trying to develop.
Stay tuned for next year.
Thank you.